This is an HR program on demand, a living seed capsule of work life and workplace coming live from a rooftop in Stockholm, Sweden. It's me, Ann-Marie Andrich, and
me, Katarina Berg.
A vodcast, if you like, on HR, straight across the counter. Sponsored by HR The Real Deal, HR by HR for HR. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, Anne-Marie. So good to be here. Look at the day. It's perfect.
No, you bring out the sun in Stockholm. Fantastic. All the way from, is it Argentina?
Yes, that's where I'm from.
Exactly.
But I had lived in the US longer than I'd lived in Argentina. But I still have the Argentinian inside of me, especially with the World Cup. Not to show off, but just in case people didn't know.
Just on that topic, you were actually playing against Croatia.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know. But congrats.
Thank you.
It was a good game.
It was a good game.
It was a good game. Well played. Okay, my dear. So really happy to welcome you to this episode. We will talk about your very, very interesting area of responsibility, which is equity and impact. We've been fortunate to have a few of your team members actually joining. Dina, Ebba, Lynn, exactly. Do I miss anyone?
No? I think that's it.
Exactly. So, but before we dive into what you do, could you please share with the viewers and the listeners a bit about your background and
so
when
as you
joined
said,
Spotify?
I joined 2 years ago, a little bit more up 2 years ago, and very excited to come to really bring together these 4 teams that I'll share it with you that were part of the equity and impact. So we have diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity. That's one of the teams. Social impact, sustainability and climate action, and the early career pipeline. So those 4 teams came together. They were sitting in different places, and we brought them together to really align the work. And what we do, we really straddle between the inside. So one of our constituencies are our band members, but also the outside, our creators and our users in our community. So that's how we look at the work that we do. And our mission is actually to make the world more sustainable and equitable. So we work across the organization to really guide the organization and ourselves to do that work. So it's very exciting to be doing that work these days.
I can imagine, beautiful. Now I know that you've been working with these subjects before you joined Spotify. If you were to share with us, were there any, as you were joining Spotify, were there any like surprises or insights of how Spotify is working with equity and impact that you would like to share?
Yeah, and I will share first from the big picture. This is the first time in my career that I work for a non-US company. So learning about the Swedish culture and the practices and the business views was very interesting. And I will say that one of the first experiences was about the transparency, the way we treat our employees as adults. So we share information that many other companies would not share. So we let our employees make decisions with the information that they have. And I think that that's fascinating about this new way of doing, or the Swedish way of doing work. Very flat organizations, access to leadership. So if you have a question, just people come to you. And they not only come with questions, sometimes they come with great ideas. So some of the programs that we implemented this year sparked from employees that are not part of our team that said, this is an idea of some work that we can do in civic engagement in the UK. What about doing that together? So that for me has been very interesting working at Spotify. And then we are a big brand that has a uniquely positioned way of doing things, and we can reach thousands, millions of users, and we can support millions of creators. So when we look at our work, we can see the impact that we have. That's the equity and impact. So the equity is how we create a fair environment for all, and then the impact is how do we ensure that everything that we do has a positive impact in the societies, in the communities, in the lives of the band members.
Fantastic. Really nice. Now you explained why equity and impact, yeah? I also know, because I've seen that, you recently, or was it last year, you shared a report a very extensive report on equity and impact, 68 pages. And when I looked, I was like, holy, this is like a Bible. If anyone wants to learn more about this area, this is a super interesting source of information. And also it shares, your work and your progress. You talk about a few focus areas there.
Yes.
What are those?
Yeah. Before I answer that, I will share a little bit of the evolution of that report.
Good.
Because so we publish a report every March, and it talks about the work of the previous year. And we have some regulatory requirements to inform about sustainability. But then we decided that we're going to be doing more. Yes, of course, we can just do the report and the numbers around sustainability and climate action. But this is an opportunity for us to communicate to our employees, to our candidates, to our investors. So that's why we have those 63 pages that tells a story of all the work that we're doing at Equity and Impact specifically, but also the way that we work with the markets teams and the marketing teams and the product teams. So that's why it is a really encompasses.
One.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when we look at some of the focus areas, we're looking at around climate action. So what is our work around our own emissions, so how we reduce our emissions, and we have a bold commitment to be net zero by 2030. So there are many teams working, from the R&D teams to product teams to marketing to our team on that. And also we have an opportunity to raise awareness around climate change, sustainability, climate action. So those are the two areas that we focus around climate. We focus about equity and underrepresented communities. So what do we do internally to ensure that all employees have the opportunity to thrive? And what are the ways of working that we can change to ensure that happens? We look at communities, and when we say communities, is like, what are the places where we work and how do we ensure that we support those communities? So the work that we do around civic engagement is very aligned to the values of the company, and how do we support, it's a nonpartisan work,
Right.
where we want to ensure that people have the tools to support their democracies. And also we think about this early career, and then how do we create spaces for underrepresented communities to come into being our talent. And the last one, that is very broad, but it has different programs around mental health. We have been committed to mental health like really no other company, way before I came. So the work
True.
that has been done around that is incredible and continues to separate us from a lot of other companies.
True. I think you're pioneering in that area. And I remember we were having the conversation with Lynn, and she shared the work of Heart and Soul. It was heartfelt, right? And you also see her passion about this. What are you, now, 2 years, and 2 years at Spotify, and with all of the work that you've done so far, what are your proudest moments?
So some of the big programs and some of the smallest programs, and I'll share the smallest program because we talk about Heart and Soul. So when I joined, there were a lot of conversations. It was the middle of the pandemic, and there were a lot of conversation about domestic abuse and domestic violence, and both women and men, that before we had the office as a place of safety. They didn't have that anymore. And we started to look at a lot of the research. The UN was putting research that 1 every 4 women and 1 every 6 men will go through a situation of domestic abuse in their lives. So we started to think, well, this could be happening to our employees. So we put together a very comprehensive program. And it's one of those programs that you have to be committed, knowing and hoping that it's not going to be a huge usage, but that you're doing that because it's the right thing to do. And every time that I present this program to band members, I get an applause, not for me, but for the commitment. Yeah, and
I get goosebumps.
I choke many times when I do this presentation, because I think that it talks about our commitment to our employees. No matter what your situation is, we believe that we can be a resource and a support system. So for me, it's a small program in the sense that you don't have a lot of usage. As I said, good. We have usage. We have a third party supporting us in doing that work. So we know that we have literally save the lives of some of our employees through this program. So that's a small but very impactful program. And from the big ones, is our commitment to diversity and the work that we have been doing around the world, looking at our gender representation, looking our ethnicity and race representation in the countries where we can measure that, and in the countries where we cannot, looking for other proxies, and how do we ensure that we have a diverse workforce that represent our users and represent our creators. And then the work that we do with creators, we really engage with them in some of the topics that we care. In June we do a big Pride campaign, and we engage with our creators in communicating our values. So those are some of the things that we do. There are 63 other pages.
I know, but it's a lot, and that's I know it's hard to pick out a few, right? Because you do quite a lot.
The other one that is interesting that came, and it was one of those things that were not planned but came out from the needs of the world. So one of the things, working with UNICEF, we put together a program for youth that are either refugee youth or coming out of war or in war zones. And we realized that we're uniquely positioned to create tools like audio tools that will help youth find places and find solutions. Again, goosebump. But that was a program that it was not on our original OKRs, the way that we call our goals, but we realized that we had an opportunity and we have some know-how that other companies don't. So where is our niche where we can make the world a better world, bringing our own expertise?
Exactly.
Those are some of the programs.
And make that impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fantastic.
I know.
The whole
I get to we have this intro days where we bring, new band members from over the world, and I get to do a presentation and I talk about my role is to make you proud. If I tell you all the things that the company's investing, not my team, the teams in the company and the values of the company and the commitment of the company, this is what I want to make you proud. So my theme is about making you proud and a lot of the things that we do. And that's what, again, as you said, Lynn and the others are so excited because we get to do really good work that has positive impact in the world.
It has,
That's
for sure, making a difference every single day. So talking about the team, we mentioned like the heads, right? Dina and Ebba and Lynn.
And Lashanti.
Lashanti, yes.
We have to bring Lashanti one of these days.
And Lashanti is then responsible for?
The early career program. So all the internships and the rotational programs that were run around the world.
What does the team look like?
Yes, it's a very flat team of all experts. So we have experts in social impact, then they usually come from having run programs around the world. They use a lot of the marketing vocabulary because they run campaigns, so they do the briefings, they engage on the visual assets, and then the campaign, how do we engage with creators or others, partners in the community. So that's their expertise. We have diversity, equity, and inclusion experts. They usually come from having done work either, for example, in disability, around gender development, around race and ethnicity. We also work very closely with the HR business partners and on that part of the work. We have sustainability and climate action experts, and you met some of them, and they have a real deep expertise, and they continue to educate all of us in our team and across the organization around that. And we have the early career program, and that is a combination of recruiting and running events, and the work that we do there is understanding what the business needs for the future from a talent perspective, go to the universities and creating the programs that will allow us to then convert those interns into full-time employees. And we also have rotational programs, so we have that. And then part of this group also includes one of the verticals of the CEF, and that's the Creative Equity Fund, Creators Equity Fund. And that program was created with the commitment of delivering $100 million for creators in a multi-year program. And we're really started being focused around Black and the LGBT community in some of the markets like UK, Brazil, and the US. So that was our start. So that's also part. And we work very closely with the podcast vertical and the music vertical, and in our team we deliver around community.
Fantastic. And the team is global, right?
The team is global. We have some team here in Sweden, in Stockholm. We have team members in London, in Paris, and in New York. And then regions where we don't have team members, so we don't have anybody in Latin America and we don't have anybody in Asia, but we support those teams through our work from some of the central locations and in partnership with HR business partners.
Exactly. Beautiful. Great. Wonderful. Yeah. And I can continue with all of the superlatives, right? If we were to look into the future, just like, what are the trends now currently in the area of equity and impact?
So what we know from research is that actually Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they do care about this. They want to work for companies that have purpose. They want to do things that, they can show off and be connected to their own values. So we believe that companies that have really developed this, not because they have to, but because it is aligned to our values, they're going to be able to attract a population of the next talent. But we also see that there are some people that don't believe in this work, and you have some political groups that are against this kind of work, and trying to balance that. It's going to be real commitment from senior leaders that are going to be pressured to have positions around, ESG and diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and equity. And I got the opportunity to say to a lot of our band members, I'm so confident that we're in the right path. We believe in this. We're not doing this because someone else tells us that this is important. We do this because we believe it's important. So, but we will still have to deal with that pushback around the work that we do. But the next generation will solve this, and we will be there to support them.
I know. So let's put the trust in the next generation. Lovely. So finally, if there are any listeners out there or HR peers of ours who are working in a company and they haven't started yet with the work on equity and impact or diversity and inclusion or climate, where do they start? How would you guide them? How do you start?
So I would say the first thing is just look at your numbers and try to see where you see either areas of growth and opportunities or things that are not working. So if I think about some of the numbers that we look at that as we start looking at our priorities, one is demographics. So do you have a good representation of the pool of talent that it's in your market? So the way that we talk about these initiatives, we say they're global, but then they have to be locally implemented. So then you have to really understand the nuances of each culture and through that be able to deliver. So you have to understand your own market. You have to understand your business. So you have to know where they are the levers that you can use in your business. For us, for example, the creators is one of the areas they are interested in having this conversation with us. And same thing, partner organizations where they see the opportunity to engage with us. So looking at those things and looking then at engaging with your senior leaders. Of course, you need to have that, but in everything that we do. So that's like an obvious one. But then engaging with the employees that are interested in this topic. So we have all these communities here at Spotify. So we have what other companies call ERGs. We call them belonging groups. We have climate action ambassadors. We have Heart and Soul, as you know, ambassadors. We have different groups, social impact. As I mentioned to you, when we did the civic engagement campaign in the UK, it was one of our engineers that saw one of our presentations and reminded us that there were new requirements for voting in the UK. And they said, this is an opportunity for us to inform the world. So, before the elections, actually, we had in our platform. So when you open Spotify, there was a reminder in the UK for those areas that needed a new ID to go and look for the information. So we're always taking advantage of course, senior commitment, but also the energy that we have in the company. We have, thousands of employees that want to do this work, and all they need is to give us the idea, and we go and implement it.
Exactly. Inclusion by design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Such a pleasure having you. I'm sure that we will invite you back. And thank you also for putting some other interesting team members on the agenda that we will invite.
We will.
For some episodes. Lovely. Thank you. Now, we end these episodes with the three things. Now, given that you are a Latina, we thought that why don't you close it, the three things in Spanish?
And
would you be up for it?
I will follow that. So let's see if we can do it.
Yes.
So, mantente segura,
Segura. Sí.
mantente fuerte, mantente activa.
Y
de Modalia.
Elizabeth, rock star. If we were to, yes?
Can you redo that section?
Oh shit.
Bloody hell.
No,
You
like-
know,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, I know.
It was good, but I don't know what I said.
It was so good.
Normally, like the helicopters can fly by and everything, but now we have 4 close range, and I couldn't even hear you guys.
didn't hear what you were saying.
But could we have that, right? That would have been super cool if you can have that behind the scenes, right?
A team here in Stockholm, London, Paris, and New York.
Fantastic. Because I'm like, they're partying over there, and then something was going on over here. So
And the
we had-
sun is strong. I'm ready to get my sunscreen.
I know, you have it in your...
I love it. No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Sorry.